face on a world tour that will be seen by at least 3 million people. At the Capitol Center in Washington recently, the former Ziggy Stardust granted an exclusive interview to Pat Collins.
David Bowie, the rock star, who can attract these huge crowds, is fast becoming David Bowie, the movie star, as well. At the same time, he is winding up a sold-out American tour. Mr. Bowie is appearing on screen in a new movie, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence.
Good day.
In the most important movie role he has had, Bowie plays a British prisoner of war, captured by the Japanese in Java in 1942. The film's Japanese director, Nagisa Oshima, first approached Robert Redford. When Redford said no, Oshima went to Bowie. It was the right decision. Bowie brings to the screen the same magnetism he brings to the concert stage.
Ambition said that I had the qualities to carry it off, because the first thing I did when Oshima told me about the movie itself, I went back to the book and I read the book. And there was a lot contained in the character of Celius that I could quite easily align with my own life and problems and regrets and guilt and whatever. I think as an actor one has to strive to find those planes that are parallel with the character in oneself.
Bowie sees Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence as a breakthrough movie, the one he needed to be taken seriously as an actor.
The greatest encouragement for me is that it's helped present me as a regular human being in a movie. I mean, that's been the inherent problem of being a rock star who wants to be a legitimate actor, or legitimate anything else, I think, is that the parts are restricted from the beginning. So I had a sleuth of green-eyed, out-of-space rock-playing freaks or TVs or something. I mean, that's all that I got offered for years and years.
In The Man Who Fell to Earth, Bowie played an alien. Are you interested in movies and in acting because you think you've achieved all you intended to achieve in music?
I think music will always be a mainstay of what I do. I've always had the pretension of wanting to be a director myself. I think that has everything to do with it. I've done a lot of 4-minute video clips, and I get very involved in those things to a degree that I storyboard everything and I edit it on paper, so the whole thing is shot. I know exactly how it's going to turn out. I direct them, but it's very different going from 4 minutes up to even 30 minutes. And naturally, I wanted to sort of get involved in film, working with great film directors if I could. So when and if I ever get the chance, I would have a sort of a backlog of experience about how to put a film together.
Would it be some kind of an irony that on your way to becoming a director, that doing all these movies, you became a movie star?
If I'm working with great directors, of course, if I have that luxury offered me, I'd embrace it with open arms. But to devote my life to being an actor, I think they're far better than I, and who would do a lot better than I will in having that as the mainstay of their lives. I really want to quickly turn behind the camera. What kind of movie would you like to do? I think I could make a quite extraordinary musical piece. I think that would be a lot of fun, but it requires huge amounts of money, which nobody's going to give me yet.
About a rock star?
No, that's the last thing it would be about. Not a director trying to break into rock.
And Pat will be back with the second part of her interview with the elusive David Bowie tomorrow.
To star in and direct movies. Today, part 2. An exclusive interview. Pat gets David Bowie to talk about his real-life role as a single parent and about his glittery past as Ziggy Stardust.
In the 70s, Bowie created a cast of bizarre alter egos. The most famous of all, Ziggy Stardust. Soon, that character took over Bowie's personality.
I started off as a fairly good songwriter, and I really didn't have the conviction that it was my job to go out and sing my songs, and it was very hard for me to get anybody else to sing them. So it dawned on me quite quickly that I should probably start developing characters that I could, in fact, put myself into and present my songs that way.
You know, I look at the watch, it says 9:25, and I think, oh God, I'm
But the twist came is that I started writing songs for the characters, and that sort of overshadowed my original idea, which was just to get my songs known. And I was starting to support the characters.
So that some of the characters, like Ziggy, took over. David.
To a certain extent, as much as I allowed them to, and it was to quite tragic results, I think. I mean, it was an interesting period, but it's a period I wouldn't really either dwell on or go back to anymore. I mean, I'm completely finished with that kind of identification with the characters. I was playing around with the idea of developing characters that one could take into real life. Where Ziggy would go and do interviews and say things that David Bowie would never say probably.
But it's a closed chapter.
Oh yes, yeah. That it served a kind of an interesting purpose at the time, that what is real life and what is character acting. I mean, it seemed so much part of that particular period of rock and roll, which everything was sort of fabricated and synthetic to such a degree that it sort of lived it in real life.
Is this the best time for you right now? If you were to look at the long sweep the last 15 or 20 years, are you feeling better about your work, about yourself?
I never really thought that I would achieve this kind of accessibility to people. I mean, it's sort of, I'd resigned myself up until a year ago, really, that I had a particular kind of person that liked my kind of music, and slightly disorientating things that I've been saying, or the ways of looking at things, kind of obscure, strange ways of looking at a song, really, and music. And I thought, well, that's fine, okay, well, one can't please all the people all the time, and I'm very happy with that position, but for some reason this year it's just gone bonkers. I've never really touched audiences before in this particular way. This, for me, is a far more human show than anything I've done before. The lack of characters, of course, helps, but there's such an empathy between myself and the audience, for a change.
Having a little boy to raise and being a single parent, has that changed you and changed your direction in life?
Undoubtedly, undoubtedly. From the moment that we started spending a lot of time together in the middle 70s, I became more and more aware of my own responsibilities to him. Again, so one starts redefining one's life and sort of thinking more about a future. Not entirely successfully, I mean, one does flounder every now and again, but it does become more and more a solid piece of work. It's an issue that the future does exist, and if it exists for me and him, then it must exist for everybody else. And there's a kind of a positivism. Positivism, that was quite good, wasn't it?
Has your son ever seen any of the Ziggy film?
Oh, he's seen footage. He thinks it's a screen.